If you start with a Bitcoin only bag and wanted to diversify such that you had an 80% Bitcoin, 20% alts by year end in USD terms, what's a good strategy? Well, that's super interesting. And, this cycle I think is very, very different because altcoins are running faster and further than Bitcoin is. And that's clear from the dominance. And it's caught a lot of people off guard. But let's talk about my history first, just to give you perspective. We're taking the clock back 5 years. Okay. In 2017, I was a Bitcoin maxi. In 2018, I was a Bitcoin maxi. In 2019, I was a Bitcoin maxi. I didn't trust anything else. In March 2020, my good friend Mark on a bike ride convinced me to YOLO into a ton of ETH. So I did. And a couple of years later, nearly 3 years later, my average cost for Bitcoin is about 9,000 and the average cost for Ethereum is about $200. And again, the ROI on those two different assets, 155% ROI on Bitcoin, it's done 2.5x approximately. And my ETH has done an 8x, so 700% return on investment. And that gives you a little bit of perspective of really why we do this. Now, Ethereum has been underperforming this year, whereas Bitcoin has been doing better, which is very, very strange, especially when you look at all the other alts. And I think people are beginning to see maybe there are threats to the dominant position that ETH has out there right now. There's also a lot of confusion around layer twos. So let's jump in. Now let's talk about theoretical upside of alts. So here is just an example model. You guys can pull it down on TradingView. Just search in your TradingView IA Sol upside model. It can be configured for any coin. Down the line, let me know what you want to do. But if you take a simple strategy of say, okay, I believe Solana could be worth 10% of the ETH market cap, or 20% of the ETH market cap, or 6% of ETH, or the equivalent market cap to Cardano, what would the price be? Well, that would give you a price of about $38 if it's equivalent to Cardano. I think $50 if it's equivalent to 10% of ETH, and $100, 20% of ETH. Now remember, this is a dynamic model. As the price of other assets go up and down, this changes. But it's very important to have kind of a line in the sand as we go forward. And this brings me to kind of a summary answer to your question. I urge you, in the next slide, I'll show you a little model you can build yourself, build your own portfolio and your allocations as such. But this is just a simple example. And it's kind of what I do, what I've done. But the difference now is I'm a lot heavier in Sol than I was before it fell hard. So first of all, if Bitcoin does a 2x, it could go to 46K. If ETH does a 3x, it'll go to 4,500, which is back to the all-time high. And if Sol follows ETH, which it typically does, it'll do a 6 to 10x, maybe a 12x, and that'll go to 138 or back up to the all-time high, about $259. Again, that all-time high was manipulated by Alameda, as we all know now after the fact, but we don't know where it's going to go. But I think 138 as 10% of ETH market cap is very, very sandbagged target. Now, that is a year to a year and a half from now. Not today, not tomorrow. A year to a year and a half from now. I have to explain this stuff very carefully. So this is an example forecast, and you can pick whatever coins you want. I don't care, but I show what I do. Okay, so first of all, if you imagine the Bitcoin price today, 23K, well, since I did that, Bitcoin's got up $700, so things move fast in this space, and an hour later, things are very different. But if you imagine you had one Bitcoin, and that is 80% of your bag, you got 3 Ethereum, that's 16% of your bag, and you have 50 Solana, that's 4% of your bag. What would the price approximately be 15 months from now? I picked a middle point between 12 and 18 months. I picked 15 months. Well, I believe Bitcoin could go to 42K. It could actually go there. Some people are talking about that happening in March or April of this year. And the return on investment is about 82%. But you see, the more out you go on the risk curve, the higher the return. ETH, your 3 ETH, if it does go back to an all-time high, year and a half from now, it could be worth 4,500. And that means your position is now exploded up to about $13,500 from $4,600. You made 200% on your money. You 3x'd your bag. And then, of course, Solana, you spent $1,000, give or take $150. You buy 50 tokens. It's 4% of your allocation. But if the price does go where I believe it could go, $138 at least, that could take us to 6,900. That's a 5x on your money. But again, it's a lot riskier than ETH, and ETH is a lot riskier than Bitcoin. Therefore, you allocate and size appropriately. I have to stress that. So if you look at the portfolio, when we began today, 80% Bitcoin becomes 67% Bitcoin, 16% ETH becomes 22% ETH, and 4% Solana becomes 11% Solana. So just build out your own spreadsheet, play with some numbers, and think about your allocation, and think about plan where the puck is going to be. So there was a lot of confusion last year around certain assets. When they tanked, they completely fell out of bed, but the fundamentals were only getting stronger. Those two names were Tesla and Solana. Everybody gave up. And again, the markets can be irrational, and that's what we're seeing right now. And I've never, ever in 32 years seen such bearish sentiment right now. It's insane. Anyway,